Alright, this is a short tutorial about how to enter a function into a calculator. In this case, we're entering an exponential function. It's the one that we've been talking about for most of this investigation. It's y equals 1 times 3 to the x. Hopefully you notice that this is the output here, and here's our input up here. And in this case, the input is representing the number of rounds, and the output is the number of people helped in that round. And so just a couple other notes. This 1 here, if you're thinking about it, represents original student. The very weird looking Haley Joel Osment in this case. And then here's our multiplication factor, you might notice. And that kind of went off my page a little bit, but it is the multiplication factor. It's also the growth factor. Okay, and in order to enter this into the calculator, the first thing you're going to do is make sure you're on this clear screen. If you need to get there, you can press second quit. If you're in a graph or something like that, you can always press second quit to get out of it. I'm going to start by going to y equals. And there's already something here. Somebody from another class may have entered something, so I'm just going to press clear to get rid of it. I'm going to go up here. You might notice that this, on my calculator, plot 1 is already emboldened. And so I'm going to go up there and press enter, because that turns off the plot. You want all 3 of these to sort of not have a black background. That'll make sure that you're only going to see your information. And then finally, we're going to plug stuff in. You might notice that y is already written in there, and that's the y that's going to be in my function. So I just need to enter in the expression for how the output is reached. And so I'm going to type in 1 times 3 to the x. And in order to type that into our calculators, you type 1, you press the times button, it looks a little bit different on there, 3, and then I'm going to press this caret button, that is the exponent button, to the x. And there we have it. There's 2 things that I want you to look at when you're considering this. The first is that if I press the second and then table button, I'm going to see the exact table that is in your investigation. So I could use this table to find, say, the 17th term, which is something I asked you to do previously, and in this case it ends up giving it in scientific notation, but there it is, 129,140,163. And so you can use this table to see how the information grows pretty easily. But you can also see what the graph looks like, and you already looked at one version of this graph by clicking the link in your investigation. I'm going to start by pressing zoom, and then I'm going to press 6 for standard just to get the standard zoom and see what it looks like. And there's my graph. It appears non-linear because it's curved. And so this is what an exponential graph looks like. It approaches 0, but it doesn't reach it. It's sometimes called an asymptote. And then it grows faster and faster. Now, if you wanted to look at this in the way that it is graphed on that link, you could change the window by pressing window. And so it tells you where x is going to start, where x is going to end up, what x will count by, where y is going to start, where y is going to end up, and what y is going to count by. And so I'm just going to do x's from -2 to 10 just so I can see. By doing -2, it's going to allow me to see the axis, and I'll show you that in a second. And counting by 1 there is fine. When I set up the other graph, I did -200 all the way up to 7,000. And I made it, let's make a jump by 500ths. And so when I press graph now, it changes what it looks like. And I get a graph that looks an awful lot like the one that was in that link that you clicked. It stays very close to 0 for a long time, and then it grows very quickly. Because I selected -2, which is less than 0, and -200, which is less than 0, it allowed me to see the axes here. I'll show you here. If I put in 0 and 0 here, the axes are along the wall, and so it's a little bit more difficult to see. So I like to jump below the axes. Just so that you can see a little bit more information. Okay, so if you're in this graph mode and you're trying to graph something else, you can press zoom and press Z standard in order to go back to the standard zoom. You can always do that. To get out of it, you press second, quit, and to get back to the graph, you press graph. You press second and then graph to get to the table. That's just a review of some of the information that you'll need when you're operating with this stuff. I'll show you one more thing here, which is the table set. If I press second and then window, I can tell my table where to start. Let's say I want to get, I don't know, negative 500, and I want my table to jump by 200s. If I go back to the table now, it's going to jump by 200. These errors are because the numbers are getting so large that the calculator can no longer calculate it. So you can adjust the table in that way. You don't have to just do exponential functions here. You can do linear functions as well. So we could do a constant rate of 3 that starts at 1, and I can press graph, and I'll see a line just like you guys have been considering for the last couple of years. That's it.